This is Gerardo Del Real live from the 2023 Beaver Creek Precious Metals Summit. Joining me today is the CEO of my favorite copper speculation, Hannan Metals, Mr. Michael Hudson. Mike, how are you today, sir?
Gerardo, I'm all in a bit of a whirlwind. Here we are in beautiful Colorado. I've been left out of Australia and it's all go.
Let's get right to it. I'm a biased Hannan shareholder. Wrote a check recently. I've been very vocal and honest and transparent with my subscribers and my audience that I plan on adding to what's already a pretty robust position for myself. I believe that in the next 2 to 3 years, Hannan is going to be the copper exploration story in the space. A bit of softness in the market right now while we wait for drills to start turning. I wanted to catch up and just get an update and see how things are coming along.
Well, as we all know, because we know the story well, we are waiting for permitting in Peru, which is very slow. We have a huge land package. We have a joint venture with the Japanese government, JOGMEC. We have Teck, the largest mining company in Canada, at 9.9%. So a very well supported company. We're fully cashed up, and thanks to you and other stakeholder shareholders for making sure that's the case, and ourselves as insiders too, by
Absolutely.
the way. And so we've got a team, a very active team of basically 10 geologists down there making lots of discoveries literally daily. We've got a very active social permitting team because that's a big key part of what we're doing. We want to bring stakeholders along. We need to bring stakeholders along down there. And we're doing something very different. And we found a new porphyry belt, and when I say porphyry belt, it means porphyry skarn epithermals. There's 17 of them. It's rewriting the geology of the Andes, and the only frustration is time.
Well, let's talk about why we're so excited and willing to wait. We know the political situation in Peru. We know permitting always takes longer than we want it to. I'm willing to wait as long as that takes. If it's months, if it's, more than months, that's fine, because I think the prize is absolutely worth the wait. You mentioned having a new porphyry belt. You mentioned having a top 10 land holding package in the country, right? The other 9 companies that are on that list, most have market caps in the billions. Yet Hannan sits here, where are we today? 25 million?
Something like that.
Give or take a little bit. And that's the runway, right? To go from a $25 million company to a multi-billion-dollar company. That's what we're all in this for. That's why we wrote checks. Talk to me about that geology, the 17 porphyry targets that you've developed, and that's just one portion of this just phenomenal, incredible land package that you were somehow able to put together.
Yeah, so there's 2 parts to the story. The JOGMEC JV is a sediment-hosted copper play, and that's what you're not asking about. You're asking about the 100% owned Valiente project, and that has the 17 porphyries. It sits in the high jungle. So we're about 70 or 80 kilometers away from the top of the Andes, right, in the high jungle. Now we've got what we call Miocene porphyries or Miocene intrusions out there, which is a specific age where a lot of the copper and gold come from in Peru.
Right.
That's about 15 million years ago. Now those age intrusives weren't really known to be out there until we started to work, and we found at least 17 of them, and 17 of them that look mineralized. We haven't done work on each one of them, but that's what we're working towards. So we've got one key area which we call the Balin area, and that's got 2 porphyries joined together by an epithermal field over 3 kilometers. and that's what we're doing our first permitting on. Now we're starting to work on other areas to bring those up to the same stage. So what we've done in the first area is, let's stand back. We went in there a couple of years ago, did all the stream sediments, identified those 17 different areas, flew a regional mag survey, $500,000. First time that's been done, and these things are magnetic, so they stick out. And then we've come in and mapped areas in detail, taken lots of soil samples, and we're very efficient because we use hand portable XRFs, which makes it very quick and efficient. And then we've come in and done the geophysics, the electrical geophysics, and there's a target of a considerable size. If you do the volume estimates, there's basically 600 million tons of chargeable component in that one porphyry of that Balin area. So it looks big, it looks deep. It's got grade at surface. These are leached in a tropical environment, so you're not going to see the ore grades in that top surface. We've got to get below that weathering. The grades that we see at surface, rule of thumb, commensurate with what could be economic at depth. So we're seeing the right sort of grades in that leached environment, but we need to drill to test that. And we'll have a package of porphyry epithermal targets that will drill year on year for the next 5 years. And Ballion's the first one. We're just going through the public participation there. We just had the participation workshop last week. We had something like 120 people there with their support for the project. So that's really, really important. And then we'll go and put that environmental instrument. We've had all water and soil and air as specialists. And that's why it takes so long in Peru. It's quite a process. The local people very supportive of what we're doing. And then it's a wait, right? And Peru says they're fastening their process, but it's at least a year, I think, is the guidance to drill on those projects. But let's see where Peru's going. They're making positive sounds, but I'm yet to see that in reality.
You have one of the more colorful backgrounds in the exploration space. You worked in the Middle East, you worked in Europe, you worked in the U.S. How do you end up putting together what is an entire basin of highly prospective land and targets that the majors like the Techs of the world and the Sumitomos and all the big players missed?
Well, it's a bit of grey behind the eyes now, but in my younger years, I've been in Peru since the mid-90s.
Right.
And I worked for a major company that was the major zinc company in the world at the time. And that went into liquidation in the late 90s. And my business partner and I, Mark Saxon, bought the data from South America from the liquidators.
Right.
So we had a great database. And in most parts of the world, or in a lot of parts of the world, like Australia, like Canada, not the US,
right,
there's a very good system where past explorers supply their data to the government, and there's a repository of information and building on that knowledge. In Peru, that doesn't happen.
Right.
So having a database that has built on lots of knowledge is a huge advantage. And we actually sold that data as younger geologists to 35 majors at the time because it was such a unique data set. Now, we've been able to use that data over the years, and the intellectual capital has come from that and we knew that there was some indications of porphyries out there. We'd seen some indications of zircons that have been dated in streams. I recall seeing that had a little sniff of Miocene age that we talked about. So it was that past experience, that database, 28 years working in the country to give it a go, and then it was actually COVID that gave us a great opportunity. We had the joint venture with JOGMEC, and we knew that having a joint venture is great. It's and the JOGMEC is such a wonderful partner, but it didn't give shareholders full exposure to a project. So we went working. We have contact with some of the best porphyry geologists in the country. People who can take little sample here and here and know how it fits in the whole system. And we let that specific person go wild during COVID and just wander around for a year or so. And after we'd done that initial stream sediment work, and so that's how it all came up together. A bit of experience, a bit of luck, and giving it a go.
Fascinating stuff. What can we expect here in the next several months and years? You mentioned before, once the permit is in hand, there's going to be years of drilling because of the abundance of targets, right? So 3 years, 4 years, 5 years worth of drilling? What are you anticipating?
At a minimum. And the only thing that can get in the way is Peru.
It's Peru.
So far so good. In Valiente, we've got that public support, and we've actually done the hard yards now. It's a waiting game when we submit over the next few weeks. In the next few months, you'll see more work on new targets. So we've just started work on a target called Divisoria, and so that's about 20 kilometres away from that Ballin area. Right. And so we've now started doing all the work on that. So you'll see a summary of that, and then the next project and the next project, and nevertheless we can't just stop working on the one. So it's a cascade of projects, and you'll see incremental bits of work on what we know, and then new areas coming in.
Lots to look forward to. I don't think it's a coincidence that major producers have taken, a bite at Hannan. I am sure they would like a bigger bite. I hope they have to wait for that bigger bite. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the following months and years. Mike, thank you so much.
Gerardo, thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Take care.